What's happening, YouTube? I am Adam Davis, and I am the average snake keeper. I'm starting to feel like a professional YouTuber already, because here I am, late with content. So I want to get out something for you guys to see, and talk a little bit about some ideas that I have going forward with the channel, because you guys have met all my animals now, so we kind of got the introductory stuff out of the way. Again, like I said, what I'm going to do is have a series where I do re-go over each one of my species and kind of tell you what I do to care for them. I want to say care sheets, care guides that are, official, here's how you have to do it, more again as to here's how I do it, here's kind of some ways that I used to and why I think they don't either work anymore or just why I set them up the way I do now. So we'll re-go over all of that stuff, but I want to wait. I'm moving in a week. And I kind of just want to wait until they're settled in their, not their new enclosures, but their enclosures are in their new spot. They're in their new environment. They've all calmed down for a bit, and I have gotten used to a new spot and a more consistent filming location and kind of figure all that out. And that's when I'll get into that series. For this week, though, I've gained a ton of subscribers, which is awesome. I put the channel out publicly, and we went from like 18 to 45, which is just badass. Thank you guys so much. And I got a couple of suggestions for video topics, and those were good beginner snakes / good first snakes, which I can kind of go over. I think what I'll do at that point is again, I'll take each of the species that I own and discuss whether I really think that they're good beginner snakes and whether any of them are good first snake. Obviously, one of them had to be my first snake, so, it's not like it's impossible. Ooh, she is giving me a good squeeze. Where are you going? Where are you going? You're going to fall. The other suggestion was snake temperament, which is what we're going to go over talking about her again today. So again, I think what I can do is take every species and individual I own and just do a multi-part series on temperament. I hate this word, but taming, let's call it. And just working with the animals and kind of figuring them out. So I wanted to go over her again, even though you guys saw her on the last video. I wanted to go over this subject with her again because she is my newest animal. And I'm getting a feel for her, and she's getting a feel for me. So I've had her for a month. She's been really great the last couple times I had her out. But again, the first few times I had her out, she would squirm a little bit and try and get away from me when I picked her up. She got real huffy and vocal, very loud. These guys are sometimes tend to just, I guess, be vocal without it really meaning much. But it's definitely clearly one of the things they do when they're a little agitated and defensive is they just make a big loud huff at you. They just... it's not like a normal snake hiss. It's short and it is very audible. But she's been fine the last couple times. But even something like, where she was just all of a sudden squeezing me and squirming around and something like that, I'm now paying extra attention to her behavior right now and what she's doing. I'm trying to make sure that I can, support her a little bit better than I was maybe. You guys can't quite see, but like I've got, a hand under that bit of her body that was kind of hanging off. Just because I know even though she just squeezed me right good, and she's maneuvering her tail a little bit like this, she kind of drapes her body over you. She's not very good at kind of hanging on, even like my ball pythons can, never mind my boas. My Dumeral's boa is kind of the same way. And again, he's a ground snake. This is a ground snake. Ball pythons, I suppose you can kind of say, are too, but they seem to be a little more inclined to know how to squeeze their tail around you and anchor themselves. But my Dumeral's boa and this python, short-tail, Sumatran short-tail she is again, they're floppy, for lack of a better word. So you got to kind of pay attention to make sure that the snake isn't going to hurt itself and do something stupid, because they can. But anyway, so like I said, snake temperament. She's a sweetheart. That's her temperament. But there could still be lots of surprises that this animal has for me. And I've only just gotten to that point where I can kind of confidently, and here's a word I'll use a lot when it comes to snake temperament and working with snakes. I can kind of confidently now pick her up, interact with her, and label her as a pretty sweet individual. And that is, again, it's only based on a month of having her, and really only my last few interactions with her. But I'm getting better at reading her behavior. I am getting better at understanding kind of what she needs from me to come out and be calm, to be confident herself. And so there is the other term that I like, and that's we're forming our working relationship. I'm getting used to her and her quirks, and she's, essentially getting used to how I handle her, how I interact with my snakes, what my routine is for, how I clean her enclosure, where I put her, what I do, how I behave and interact with her when I take her out. And she's getting used to the environment outside her enclosure, my home, which, like I said, will move. That'll be a little different. We'll see if any of the snakes kind of take a while to not just acclimate to being in their enclosure a certain way, but literally to acclimate to their enclosure being in a new environment itself. They are a little more aware than we give them credit for. They're not totally stupid animals. They're just very reactive is all. I heard somebody say this once and I really liked it, and that's that snakes kind of live in the moment. So, she doesn't necessarily remember me as, oh boy, it's Adam. I'm so excited that he's, back in my enclosure to come pick me up and take me out. She, I'm sure, like any other snake, would live just fine for the rest of her life without seeing me. Whoop. All right. So even there, the way she just kind of angled her body, I can tell that however I was holding her, she wasn't feeling comfortable. Because she doesn't normally squeeze. So what I'm learning kind of from this animal is that if she does all of a sudden squeeze real hard and maneuver herself, that she probably doesn't feel secure. So she's being real good still, and even if she's feeling that way, she's letting me continue to hold her. I'm trying to support you, and you're pushing your head back. There we go. You. Anyway, where was I getting? Snakes are reactive and live in the moment. So when they're kind of in their enclosure, when I picked her up, she was just hiding between the paper towel and the layer of packing paper. So she's just kind of chilling in between two layers. And she likes to do that. Sometimes she'll be in her hide. Sometimes she burrows under the sphagnum moss, But I generally understand that this animal likes to be hidden. She values her privacy. So that's cool. That's fine. And odds are, as she was sitting there, she wasn't thinking about anything. She wasn't thinking, when is Adam going to come again? She wasn't thinking, when's Adam going to feed me again, right? She's not thinking anything other than, I'm comfortable, right? That's what they're doing. They're seeking out being comfortable. They're seeking out, what temperature gradient they have to be in. If they are hungry and really feel that way, they may go seek out food. But really their concern is just, are they comfortable and do they feel secure? And if they've got both of those things going on, most snakes, I think, are going to be just fine. And they're not really going to contemplate anything else. And again, contemplates, that's a big word, but they're not going to really be reacting to or just dealing with anything else until there's a new stimulus. Now, they're not, so dumb that they're like just an insect completely operating almost on reflex. But again, they do operate on instinct a lot. And again, they really, I feel like I said, it's, I've taken her out and now she knows, again, she's being handled. She knows she's out. She knows all right, I'm not in my home. I'm sitting on this guy's arm. I'm out here. This is what's going on. So again, she's not thinking either, boy, I miss my home. She's not thinking, I miss my hide. I miss where I was, as much as she's only really dealing with what's going on right now. So that's kind of how I've been led to understand how a lot of these animals kind of operate as far as their thought process goes. So it's like I said, as they live in the moment. So when I put her back and get her, and she goes back into hiding and settled, she's not going to think, hey, is Adam still around? What was going on? Boy, I hope I get handled again, or what was going on there, Or when you move them to a new enclosure, they might take a while to get used to that enclosure, but they're not missing their old one. Does that kind of all make sense? Like I said, they're living in the moment. They're dealing with what is going on immediately right now, and there's almost a beauty to that as human beings who worry about tomorrow, who worry about yesterday, who worry about next year, who worry about last year, who worry about our childhood, and all sorts of things. So you have it better than you realize, little girl. Anyway, working with her right now is pretty interesting. Again, she's being real chill. She's being real good. She's just kind of poking around. See how she slowly moves her head around. She's slowly flicking her tongue. These are all indications that the animal is not stressed. She's being calm. She's curious. If I want to interact with her, and I'll show you guys this just kind of in general, as we do temperament, we'll probably go over kind of handling techniques and things too, is for me to keep her calm, I want to try and maneuver from underneath her. Right? I try to, even though it's nice and easy to make a palm, I try and keep my thumb out of the way. I don't know. Not like I've been bitten in the thumb or anything, but I feel like your thumb poking out to everything else is just a little noticeable. But again, here I am. I'm going to come from underneath her. And that's how I'm going to generally try and manipulate any of my snakes. Never mind just her. But that way, again, is, you don't come from above like you're some swooping predator. And that helps them, again, to feel comfortable, helps them to feel secure, helps them to feel, and again, I like this word, is confident. So the idea is like I said, is I'm trying to build this working relationship and to build confidence in her and myself even. Because again, she's a new species, she's a new individual, I haven't had her that often. When I first went to take her out, the first time I had to, I wasn't that confident because I had no idea how she was going to react. And she did. She surprised me a little bit by just how quick she whipped herself around to, what I was kind of prodding her with. And here's one thing that I have learned. So all my other snakes, I kind of give them a little bit of a gentle, rub. I touch them a little bit, basically, and I let them know I'm there. And usually they kind of know that once I do that, the next step is I'm going to pick them up. She doesn't care for that. If you touch her without picking her up, she starts to kind of freak out and wonder what's going on. So instead, if you just go right in and grab her, even if all you're doing is first just kind of getting your hand underneath her to pick her up, she doesn't freak out. But if you just stroke her, she's kind of like, what are you doing? So again, here's all of a sudden, that's a new quirk that I had to learn with this animal. So I know when I go to pick her up, I need to just put my hand in there and grab her, even if I got to pull her a little bit. Because right now, again, I had to kind of peel a piece of paper away, and all I saw was her midsection. I grabbed and I pulled her essentially out of her hiding spot. But because I went in there, got her, and just immediately started to move her, she kind of just dealt with it. She didn't care, I didn't all of a sudden get bit from under the paper. I didn't hear her hiss or anything. So there's kind of what I'm learning with her. The other thing I'm learning with her is sometimes she pokes around and explores a bit, and other times she finds a really awkward position to rest in. But I know, again, that she's not displaying any signs of stress, really. I'll be on the lookout, like I said, if I feel like she really shifts and squeezes onto me there, because that right now is my assumption that she might feel like she's going to fall or something, that she doesn't feel secure, not thinking that I'm going to eat her or something, but she literally just feels like she doesn't have a good grip or she's not supported. And again, like I said, is that whole building confidence thing. I really like this term. I like this term far better than taming your snake. Your snake is wild. It's a wild animal, even if it's been captive bred through years and years and years, and generations. It's a reptile. They can't be domesticated the way that a dog or a cat can. Like I said, they're operating kind of on instinct. They're operating on reaction, right? They got a lot of things like that going. Let's give you a nice little look at her. She is so pretty. So no matter what, you can have an individual that's very docile. You can have an individual that's very tractable, an individual that's pretty calm and, not startled easily, not bothered easily, not stressed easily. And that's awesome. That's absolutely a thing that can happen. And for me, it's desirable. That's what I want in one of these animals. Because for me right now, they're not just kind of a project that I'm doing for YouTube. They're not just possible future breeders. They are also my pets. And that's what I want in a pet. I thought for a little bit when I used to see a lot of the ball python hatchlings and things like that I wanted to work with a feisty baby. And then I got a feisty baby Dumeril's boa, and I learned that was just a headache, and that was not fun. It's not fun to have a snake bite you all the time. So, some people live for the challenge. I just live for the experience, But I was set and ready for this animal to give me all kinds of surprises, and she hasn't really, which is awesome. She's been pretty great. She's been basically what the reputation of her species has led me to understand, which is that they're really chill. That they're just really laid back, relaxed. She kind of was, put up with everything I've done with her so far. Where are you going? And that's awesome. The description that I got from her was that she had a great disposition, was easy to work with. They said that another one they had the same disposition and easy to work with, and also easy to handle. So they didn't mention handling with her, which made me wonder, Maybe she didn't like to be picked up, but she's doing fine, which is awesome. And again, I thought that even if she kind of wasn't like that I would put in the effort, I'd put in the time and try and take her out and get her to the point where hopefully she was comfortable and confident with being picked up. And if it never happened, so be it. You kind of have to sometimes accept that, your individual animal may not behave like somebody else's, or like, you want it to, or, other individuals in the species may. And you might have one that's a little high strung. You might have one that's a little nervous. And it may just be that way. And you got to accept it. Just like you might have a nervous cat or a nervous dog, you can have a nervous snake. They're not all impervious to having their own quirks. They're not all just, this one method for taming your animal down or for socializing your animal works with every snake. It doesn't. I would say generally, though, there's a reason why most people say, if you've got a flighty or defensive snake, that the answer is just to handle it. Because I would say that more often than not, that's indeed all you got to do. But anyway, with her, I don't know. I'm learning things, but like I said, I'm going to bring up this word again, that confidence. I am now confident in how I have to pick her up. I'm confident in how she's most likely going to behave when I get her out. And I think she has become confident that she's not in danger when I'm interacting with her. So she's not freaking out so much versus the first couple times she didn't know what to make with it. And that's fine, again, I'm new to her. This is a new environment. But she's getting used to, what I do when I open the enclosure. She's getting used to my methods of handling her. She's getting used to the environments that I bring her out into when I do. So there's what it kind of means when you say building confidence. Never mind, too, when you have a baby snake. She's not a baby, but she's pretty small. She's young. She's under 2 years old, and I think she's honestly a little small, probably for how old they said she was. So either way, she's aware of that. She's aware she's a small snake. And sometimes, when they grow out of being little babies and they get a little bit of size on them, they all of a sudden now, they're just less fearful overall. So again, there's that confidence. So all of a sudden now, them living with you for a bit and, you haven't hurt them or tried to kill them or anything. And they're a little bit bigger and they know that they're not so low on the food chain. Again, there's that confidence in that, when you go and interact with them, they don't have any inclination to be defensive or to, to be flighty, to be scared. So I think she's already kind of building a little bit of that too. She's been really just mellow. She hasn't really cared anything what I've been doing with her lately or what I've been doing with the enclosure, and that's awesome. That's what I want. That's what I want to build with this animal. And as she gets bigger, because she's going to get big, I want to make sure she's in that same mindset, and I want to know all of her behavior quirks so well that, when this animal is 5 feet long and almost as wide as a Burmese python, that I'm not looking at it and going, oh no, what's it gonna do? I want to feel comfortable and confident handling a large constrictor. So there's the road that we're kind of taking right now, and there's where we're on. Yeah, she doesn't like the chin rubs. That's okay. You don't have to. Same kind of thing there, right? If you try something with your snake, chin rubs. People like to do that. I don't really know that any snakes actually enjoy it. Again, they kind of just tolerate what we do. But once my ball pythons are out, and if they voluntarily put their head over your finger, you can give them a little rub. My boa, he'll let you do it for days. My Dumeril's boa even doesn't really mind it too much, but for her, that's not that bad, huh? That's not that bad. Cool. But let's say you do something. Again, if I did that and she whipped her head back, I'm not going to continue to try and force that on her, because she's thinking, I don't like this. And if I keep doing it, she's going to think, this guy keeps doing the things I don't like, and now I have that negative association with her. So when you're dealing with animals like this, when you're dealing with your snakes, and you'll hear people say this a lot too, if you want to keep them social, if you want to keep them, again, tame, handle them often, and when you do, you want to make sure it's a positive experience. So basically, I would say positive or even just neutral. The idea is just, when they come out, if they're relaxed and comfortable with you, and they just get to come out and poke around a bit and be curious and whatever, and then you put them back, that could be positive. If you take them out for a bit, maybe they're not the happiest about it, but they're just kind of always that way, and you put them in a container or tub for a bit, and you do some maintenance on their enclosure, and then put them back. That's a neutral experience. You didn't anger or bother the snake or hurt the snake or do anything that changed its disposition. You just took it out and put it back, and it didn't get hurt. So same kind of thing. Even if you have that, the animal can kind of learn, all right, I might not like this, but you're not going to mess with me. But it's a negative interaction that they'll remember. And that's, again, just like with your dog or your cat, You can pet your cat and love your cat and feed it, and it can just be the happiest thing. But if you beat it a couple times, you have a skittish and scared and defensive cat for possibly the rest of its life, right? It only takes a couple of negative interactions to turn an animal into defensive and scared and skittish and, unpleasant, versus it takes sometimes a lot of those positive interactions for it to build that confidence with you. So you kind of always want that, and keep that in mind. So there's kind of what they mean when they say positive interactions. So basically, it's you want to condition the animal to think that anytime you're interacting with it, you're not going to hurt it, and that literally the worst that's going to happen is you're going to take it to a room in the house or outside or something like that, and you're going to hold it for a bit and let it kind of poke around and explore. It needs to know that that's the worst that's going to happen. Because again, it's, if you have those couple times, you take your animal out and you, let's say even it's by accident, you accidentally hit it, drop it, do whatever, you hurt it, you scare it. And especially if that happens a couple times, like I said, you might now have tons of work ahead of you in an animal that might have already been confident and tame. So, but there's the idea when people say have a positive experience. It doesn't mean take it out and give it a treat. It doesn't mean take it out and try and give it chin rubs. It just means take it out and let it be. Let it know that it's not in any harm, and kind of let it do its thing, and try and put it back without too much fuss. I worry almost sometimes every time I have my boa out, because to get him back in his enclosure, I almost literally have to fight him for it. So there's where I don't want that quote-unquote negative experience for him to think every time I'm putting him back, I'm also messing with him, but he's too stubborn otherwise. He won't let go of you, and he just won't go back in. You've got to push his head in. It's just awful, but he still seems pretty tame. So, all right. There's my first rambling, incoherent, unscripted segment on snake temperament. So I'll have a little bit better bullet point ideas on what I want to say when I do this again. If you have watched this far, excellent. please give this video a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Go check out some of my other videos and see if this is the kind of stuff that you want to keep seeing. Excuse me. I am open to suggestions for other ideas for content, for what you guys want to see. Leave them down in the comments. Leave me a message on Instagram or on Facebook. But I think, like I said, what we're going to go from here is kind of different temperament of the animals, how I've worked with them, how I've gotten them to kind of the point that they're at. And we'll go over which of my animals I think are good snakes for beginners and which of any would be good first snakes. And then, like I said, we'll do kind of our care series. And then I'd like to get into even examining snakes in media. So movies like Anaconda and Snakes on a Plane, and go over kind of what the image that they get from these films are and things like that. So those are kind of some of my immediate ideas for the channel right now. When I get to finally building my new rack and enclosure for my ball python, I'll try and make sure I document as much of that as possible for you guys. And I might even be able to maybe go over, you know, what the move is like, how we move our animals, things like that. So I should have definitely some more content out for you guys, and we won't have a drought like last time. So thanks again for bearing with me for a week without it. And there's nothing left to do other than put this girl back and bid you guys good night. So, good night, YouTube. I've been Adam Davis, and I am the Average Snake Keeper.